So with that, I want to bring up our first National Fellow, Taryn Coullier, fourth grade teacher at Elizabeth Red Elementary in Richmond, Virginia. Taryn's unit is called Faces in the Frame, More Than a Narrative, the lives that frame the true history of the United States through primary sources. And this was a unit developed in David Engerman's American History Through American Lives seminar. Taryn is a first-time National Fellow. Welcome, Taryn.
Good morning, everyone. It is wonderful to see so many familiar faces. I'm going to go ahead and begin here. Okay, so again, good morning, everyone. I hope that everyone is doing well this morning. I know we're all in a very interesting setting right now, but again, as Mr. Hossain said, my unit is titled Faces in the Frame, More Than a Narrative, the lives that frame the true history of the United States through primary sources. And so to begin, I wanted to introduce you to my wonderful and regal fourth grade class. I have a beautiful group of students this year, and they are absolutely amazing. I do teach at Elizabeth Red Elementary School in the south side of Richmond, Virginia. So our mascot is a red lion, and our students are certainly very brave during these times that they are encountering all these new things and curriculum. I wanted to begin by sharing with you the way that we had built our classroom community and culture and climate. We built off of forming identity and heritage and pride for our students through the history curriculum so that they have a firm foundation for addressing United States history this year. When we introduce all the students in our class, we begin by calling them king or queen and then their name. And it is something that kind of boosts them up every morning and every day and just boosts their self-esteem in general. We also use various technology. We used something called Padlet. Many of you may be familiar with that to kind of start off our year teaching history and building up that basis of heritage and ancestry. So kind of the precursor to the unit. We began talking about African kingdoms and rulers. We also spoke about fossils and Pangea, as well as the continent of Africa and the fossil evidence that we found looking at the continent of Africa. And so we most importantly did a maps comparison, looking at the Mercator map that's often used in classrooms versus the Peters projection or Hoba-Dyer map, which shows a definite contrast in the size of the continents, particularly South America and Africa in comparison to other continents. We looked at the true size of Africa and also its resources this year to kind of build up that foundation for kind of the beginning before we teach US history. We also spoke about how many people in the United States who are considered minorities are actually a global majority, which also builds their scope globally. And so we talked about these African kingdoms and mainly focused on these rulers. And it was important to also focus on indigenous rulers and Central and South American rulers for our students, as we primarily have an African American and Latin and Latinx population at our school. So getting into the actual seminar and unit, I was in, again, the American History Through American Lives seminar with David Engerman. The objectives for my unit were to teach history in a connected way that allows students to understand the full scope of United States history as well as the world around them. I did this through culturally responsive teaching, inquiry-based learning and teacher modeling, cooperative learning and discussion. And these are just some of the Virginia standards that it addresses: students understanding cultural perspectives and historical connections across time. And so we did a short lesson with the students about what is history. We use a program called Nearpod to do that. And so we had the students go ahead and answer questions collaboratively about what history is so that we can kind of build that from there. Then we went into talking about primary sources, helping students uncover truth through primary sources as we get into the biographies that we're going to learn this year. So we compared primary and secondary sources. We did an autobiography segment for students, as Faces in the Frame is also about their faces. and their heritage. And we talked about autobiography, and we did an autobiography versus biography lesson. And of course, we then went into, you have to explicitly teach the difference between autobiography and biography. We allowed students to look at examples of autobiographies and write their own in a student notebook, and their writing developed very much over the course of the first few weeks of school. So then we, of course, went into explicitly what is a biography. And we talked about biography at length and directly and in activities. We gave examples, multiple examples of texts for biography to build their knowledge base. And then we began by talking about Benjamin Banneker, so a famous scientist, mathematician, inventor, and the person responsible for the maps that we have of Washington, D.C., earliest maps. So we went into his story. We did a study. This is the beginning of the actual meat of my unit, where students write summaries and develop their writing skills as well by studying those primary sources about the individual, and then writing based on the notes that they take in class. And so the students did a fantastic job with that. They're keeping a biography portfolio this year. So this is a portfolio of all the people who will be learning about. So Phyllis Wheatley, Benjamin Banneker, Gabriel Prosser, Crispus Attucks, Nat Turner, Sojourner Truth, Elizabeth Jennings, Harriet Tubman, Robert Smalls, W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Ida B. Wells. And so these are just to name a few of the faces that we're going to talk about this year with the students. Of course, we want to teach history in a connected way through a timeline for them so they have context, and so we don't want to jump around. So we've only gotten through a few of those figures so far. We also have them create a class timeline where we will also keep track of when these particular figures came into history for us. So for the student work, we have our autobiography notebooks that were created. We shared our stories. This is my student Alaysia, and I wanted to share this with you. I know we have to keep our presentations brief, but I wanted to share, she is just an absolutely wonderful student in class, and I love her dearly already this year, and she agreed to read her autobiography this year, so I wanted to share that with you all.
Hi, my name is Alaysia Ariana Brown. I was born on November 2nd, 2010 at Johnson Valley Hospital. I weighed only 6 pounds and 9 ounces. From what my family tells me, I was a giggly and smiley baby. My favorite fruit was broccoli. My first ever word was mama. I began learning how to walk at 9 months. I grew and grew, and I started liking to go outside and play. At the age of 2 years old, I started my favorite thing in the whole world, which is gymnastics, and I still do it till this day. I began going to school at Elizabeth B. Red Elementary School. I am now in 4th grade. I am 9, about to be 10. My favorite fruit now is mango. I have 2 siblings, one in heaven, one and one on the way. I love math and I like to ride my bike up and down the street, and I like to have fun.
Thank you, Alaysia. That was beautiful. So obviously you can tell how adorable I thought that was. I couldn't even contain it in the video when she was speaking. So for my biography notes, the students did collaborative biography Google Forms, as well as summary slides to produce these things. And then for their portfolios, again, as I stated, they'll be keeping timelines as well as biography books. Some people in the later years, Marcus Garvey, Ella Baker, Mary McLeod Bethune, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and Thurgood Marshall are some of the people that we will get into obviously in the later, more recent eras of US history. And so last but not least, to talk about why this matters. So some of these students I have actually taught since kindergarten. I was their summer school teacher for kindergarten. I now have them as 4th graders. So I have literally grown up with them. And so they're very dear to my heart. They do know me personally, which has made this year much easier that they've known me in the community. And I wanted to give them history in a connected way. This is my referencing of Dr. Hassan Kwame Jeffries about the master narrative that was part of my unit, and about teaching history in a contextualized and connected way that is necessary for our students to learn, as well as some of the readings given by our seminar leader, The Benefit of Biography by Bernice Lerner, and talking about how students can encounter individuals who not only they can see themselves reflected in, but also who found ways of coping with hardship and that they can be inspired by. This unit also addresses psychological needs of the students. So feeling prestige and feeling accomplishment, feeling self-actualization, these are all needs of our students that they have. And so this addresses those psychological needs. And more than ever, these children who are now growing up before my eyes are asking me some very different questions these days. This is our city, and these are things that our city and cities all across the country are encountering. And I want to be able to address those questions for them. But for our students right now, it's always mattered, but for now more than ever, for them, it matters. They're seeing it as they're growing up. And these are things that they're asking us about. As Mr. Hosang said, this is their world, and they're asking us questions that we have to answer. And so just for closing, how can we impact the world? It starts with them. And so I just wanted to share, I know that my time for my presentation is over. I know that this year's, it's probably difficult to think about how important the work that we do is, and we can change the world every day as teachers. But really the only way for us to truly change the world now is through these young people and through them. And they are what's next in the world. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And I hope everyone really enjoys their time here today.